Have you ever wondered why some real estate investors seem to have this Midas touch, turning every property into gold? What if I told you that their secret isn't some hidden market knowledge or a magic crystal ball, but something much simpler and something that you can start doing today? Now, I know you might be thinking, bro, I don't have time for something new, I'm busy. Stick with me because by the end of this video, you'll see why this principle is not just crucial for success, but how it can actually save you time and skyrocket your results in the long run. I know this because I own a portfolio of rental properties that comfortably cover my living expenses, and I built that portfolio using this simple shift. I'm going to cover 3 fundamental points that will change your behavior immediately. I'll explain what it is, how it applies to real estate investing, and how you can do this in your busy life. Plus, I'll be sharing with you a free resource that will help you get started immediately. Now, let's kick things off with a fascinating story that perfectly illustrates our point. Okay, so picture this. A ceramics teacher divides his class into 2 separate groups. Group A is told that they'll be graded solely on the quantity of their work that they produce. The more pots, the better. Group B, on the other hand, is told that they'll be graded on the quality of a single perfect pot. Now, if you were betting on which group would produce the highest quality pot at the end of the semester, where would you put your money? On the perfectionist group B or group A? A lot of people would say group B. Well, here's the surprise. When grading time came, the best pots, the highest quality pieces, all came from group A, the quantity folks. How's that for a plot twist? This parable comes from a book called The Art and Fear, and it beautifully illustrates a principle that is backed by a lot of research actually. The quantity group, through constant practice and iteration, learned from their skills and mistakes and improved their skills over time. Meanwhile, the quality group, paralyzed by this pursuit of this perfect pot, ended up with little more than theories in a single mediocre pot. But don't just take my word for it, let's look for some actual research. A study on deliberate practice by a bunch of scientists that nobody's heard of found that expert performers in various fields had engaged in thousands of hours of deliberate practice. So the key takeaway here is quantity of practice is more crucial for developing high quality skills than quality. It's well known that the people who score the highest on the SAT and the ACT, especially in the math sections, are the ones who just do the most practice tests. The more you do, the better you get. It is simply a function of time under tension. While learning a new skill, just do a bunch of it. In a similar experiment conducted in a photography class at the University of Florida, students were again divided into the quantity and quality groups. They were basically matching this story and they were testing it to see if it was real. And the results, as you guessed it, those who focused on quantity produced the best work. Basically, the quantity of pictures made them take the best picture versus a whole bunch of students practicing and theorizing and then taking one picture. It just didn't work. A professor from the University of California studied the careers of eminent creators and found that the most famous influential artists, scientists, and thinkers often produced a vast quantity of work. While much of it was mediocre, their high output increased the likelihood of producing a masterpiece. One of the most famous examples is Pablo Picasso. You don't even have to be into art, you know who Picasso is. Picasso was incredibly prolific throughout his career, producing like 50,000 arts of work of painting, ceramics, poems. He just did everything. While not every piece became famous or was considered a masterpiece by any stretch, his vast output allowed him to experiment and innovate, leading to groundbreaking paintings that are now celebrated as masterpieces of modern art. His continuous creation process led to this influence and success in the art world. The lesson here is absolutely clear. Focus on quantity. Repeated practice and experimentation often leads to better quality outcomes than striving for perfection from the beginning. The process of doing and making mistakes and learning along the way, this iterative process, is the key to achieving high quality work. Now, I can already see what's going to be in some of the comments. That's great, Paul. Wonderful. But I'm not here to make some pots or take some photos. I'm here to learn about real estate, which is a fair point. So let's talk about how this principle applies directly to real estate investing. The beauty of this quantity over quality principle is that it applies to virtually every field that exists, including real estate. So let's break down how this works with a few examples. So example number 1, property analysis. Instead of obsessing over finding the perfect property, set a goal to analyze a certain number of properties each week. It could be 10, maybe as high as 50. The number doesn't matter as much as doing it consistently over time. As you review more properties, you'll start to develop an intuition for what good deals look like. You'll recognize the patterns. You'll see red flags faster, and you'll hone decision-making skills. I've become comfortable analyzing a deal with basic back-of-the-napkin math in 5 minutes or less because I've just done it so much. So the second example is networking. Don't wait for the perfect networking opportunity. Instead, make it a point to reach out to a certain number of people in your industry every week. Some conversations will be absolute duds. Of course they will. But others could lead to valuable partnerships or deals that you can't even imagine. The more you practice, the better you become at building meaningful connections with people. And before you say, I'm shy, I don't know what to say, I have anxiety, you're not alone. I grew up with crippling shyness. I had a speech impediment, I stuttered, and I was just extremely shy and reserved. But guess what? The world doesn't care. If you want to make your mark, you have to play the hand that was dealt to you and make the most of it. I remember learning how to door knock, and I went to a conference that actually taught you how to go up to a stranger's house and ask if they knew anybody in the neighborhood who was looking to sell. And I remember I was in Sarasota, Florida, and they sent us out to canvass an area. And I walked right up to my first house, and I absolutely chickened out. I walked up, went to knock on the door, and I turned right around and just kind of slunk away because I was nervous. I just didn't have it in me to do it yet. But eventually I got over it, and after lots of reps, I'm far more comfortable talking to strangers. I'm still not a master, but I'm comfortable with it now. Example number 3, instead of agonizing over making a perfect offer, focus on making more offers. Each offer is a learning opportunity. You'll get better at negotiating, you'll understand what the seller's motivations are, and learning how to structure deals that's a win-win for both sides. And so let me share a quick personal story. When I first started in real estate, I spent months analyzing just one property, trying to make sure everything was just perfect before making an offer. And guess what? No surprise, someone else scooped me and snagged the deal while I was over there crunching numbers on my spreadsheets. After that, I changed my approach. I set my goal to analyze at least 20 properties and make 5 offers every week, regardless of whether I thought those were perfect deals or not. Within 6 months, I closed on 6 properties. I learned more than I had in the previous year and built a network of agents and lenders and fellow investors that still continue to serve me today. Now, I can already hear some of you saying, "Hey, Paul, that sounds great, but I'm stretched really thin. How am I supposed to find time for all this repetition and practice?" Well, it's a fair question. Let's talk about my third point, which is how to implement the strategy in your busy life. Implementing the quantity over quality principle doesn't mean you need to go out and quit your job or sacrifice your personal life. It's about learning how to work smarter and not necessarily harder. And here are some practical tips. Number 1, set micro goals. Break down your real estate activities into small, manageable tasks. Instead of making this grand, ephemeral goal of become a real estate expert, try to analyze one property every day. Small, consistent efforts will compound over time. And what is that next action that you need to take? You need to knock over that first domino and then just keep knocking over the what's important now domino. Tip number 2 is to use your commute. You have free time in your life that you're probably not taking credit for. Sometimes you're stuck in traffic or you're on public transportation, and you can use that time to listen to real estate podcasts, audiobooks, market reports, talking to people on the phone. You're already there. You might as well make it productive. And I know that you spend at least an hour doom scrolling on social media, because we all do. Grab the report from your phone on your screen time. If you didn't know it's already there, you just have to go and look, iPhone or Android, that shows you your screen time, and you'll be shocked. And look at the data and tell me that you don't actually spend 30 to 60 minutes a day of completely wasted time playing video games, of scrolling through social media, clearing your inbox, just BS stuff. Which takes me to tip number 3, which is leveraging technology. So let's use technology to help us instead of it robbing us of our time. So we can use things like apps and tools to streamline the processes. You can set up automated alerts for new property listings so you can make quick analysis. You can use a CRM to manage your networking efforts that reminds you of what to type. We have little scripts that we just kind of cut and paste into our CRM. And you can employ an analysis tool to speed up your number crunching so that you can run through the numbers really quickly in 5 minutes or less. And the fourth tip, which is probably most important, is to make it a habit. So attach these activities, these new activities that you want to do around real estate to existing habits. For example, every morning while you drink your coffee, you get up, you get something exciting, you want to drink your coffee. Before you drink your coffee, spend 15 minutes analyzing a deal, reviewing a market report, and making an offer. And then you can have your coffee. And you really can analyze a deal in 5 minutes or less. And once you get that out of the way, get your offer sent, and then you can reward yourself with a nice sip of coffee. The goal is progress, not perfection. It's okay that your first few property analyses are rough. I mean, that's just the way it works. And if your networking attempts just are awkward or just crash and burn, it's okay. You'll never talk to them again anyway. That's part of the learning process. You're going to have your moments where you walk up to somebody like I did and turn right back around, and you're just going to fail a few times. It's part of the process. So I suggest keeping a log of your activities and seeing your progress over time, and that can be incredibly motivating, and you can see your progress. It can help identify areas of improvement. And I like to meet regularly with other aspiring and experienced investors, and this can provide accountability, motivation, and a platform for sharing ideas. You end up being the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, so upgrade your friend list and hang out with smarter, more ambitious people. And remember, the whole point of this video is the key is consistency. It's better to spend 15 minutes every day on your real estate education and the activities around real estate than to cram in this like massive 8-hour session once a month. You'll get a lot more results from the iterative improvement that you make every day instead of this 8-hour session at the end of the month. The shape of your future will be determined by how you spend this 30 or 60 minutes of flex time that you have every day. Use that time wisely so you can level up your life. And the magic to gaining mastery comes from doing this in volume. It's quantity over quality in learning any new skill. So figuratively speaking, go make a bunch of pots. It's backed by science. In practical terms, analyze deals and make written offers. The function of your success in this business will be how many offers that you physically write or call and say, hey, I've got an offer, I'm texting it to you right now. And so here's the bottom line of all this. Mastery in real estate investing isn't about making one perfect move. It's about making lots of moves, learning from each one and continuously improving along the way. And you remember that bonus that I mentioned? It's going to kind of tie this all together. So here's my challenge to you. This week, set a quantity goal for yourself. Maybe it's analyzing 10 properties, reaching out to 5 new contacts, or making 2 offers, or maybe all 3. Whatever it is, focus on the quantity, not the quality. Then come back here and let me know in the comments how'd it go. Or better yet, join our 5-day challenge that's completely for free, and we'll walk you through these steps one by one. Remember, every successful real estate investor started exactly where you are right now. The difference is they took action, and they took a lot of action. So what are you waiting for? Your real estate empire isn't going to go build itself, so go out there and make some offers. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more real estate investing advice from Paul David Thompson. I'm the CEO of Real Estate 101, and reminding you that in real estate, as in life, practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes progress. Now get out there and start practicing.